Welcome to another episode of You Left Shit Out. I'm your host, Compton J, here on a Monday, starting the week out. So this is my second Monday, but first Monday to where we have the news build up over the weekend. So I did have a lot of stories to talk about, but like seven or eight, but I narrowed them down to three or four because this is a shorter podcast. And then we'll save some of those other topics for tonight for the Nick and CJ show. So make sure you join us tonight for the Nick and CJ show. Um, I know we're going to cover Joe Biden stealing, money from Afghanistan people. No, that's one of the stories we're going to cover that was not going to be able to fit into today's episode. So anyway, thank you for joining me for this episode. Again, thank you for those on Rockfin. I'm shouting out Rockfin so much because they're new. Those on YouTube and Twitter have been seeing these streams, or my streams at least, for months. And Rockfin has only been seeing it for maybe a week. Yeah, a week today. So just shouting them out. Thank you for Rockfin, everybody on Rockfin who's watching. We're going to touch upon several different stories, but before we do that, as always, like this video, subscribe to us. If you think you're following or you're subscribed to us, make sure you double check. A lot of people saying they've been unsubscribed or somehow they've been unsubscribed. I'm not saying YouTube is doing anything, but somehow they were unsubscribed. Also, if you're able and want to support us financially, you can see my mutual aid that scrolls down at the bottom. But for RBN, or the Revolutionary Blackout Network, you can just find us on Patreon. Many different tiers on Patreon of support. So thank you for that. And I think that's it. So let's get into the stories of the day. Maybe I'll put the little item back on the screen. So we're gonna talk about let's see. I think I'm gonna start with the Tupac story just because it's a lighter story. The main topic is the Freedom Convoy. And then yeah, so that's the main topic because I put up a poll yesterday, did not know it was going to do the numbers that it did and sparked the conversation that it did. It was like over 300 comments. I'm not sure what that was yesterday, around 6 p.m. my time, 9 p.m. Eastern. So that's the last time I checked. So that's something I really want to cover to make sure we get all viewpoints, and just surprising that we're split down the middle on this topic of the Freedom Convoy. But let me, like I said before, let's start with the Tupac video. I forgot again to start off. I was going to open with this and I forgot again to do that. So here is the video. Tupac, the radical leftist.
That's good. I think that they deserve it. But even if you earned it, you still owe. Because look at me, I don't have that mega money, but I feel guilty walking by somebody. I got to give them some mail. And if I know I got $3,000 in my pocket, I feel like it's wrong to give that person a quarter or $1. It's wrong. Only you know what you got in your pocket. And that's wrong. No matter what they do, if they take it and drink it, they take it and drink it. But I mean, you got. You understand? And we all know how hard it is, and it's not about if you good or you bad. So since it's not about if you good or you bad, we know that because he don't got don't mean he was bad. Or don't mean he's a criminal, or don't mean he's crazy or a drug addict, or none of that. It just means he don't got. And ain't it bad that you got 30? I mean, can you imagine somebody having $32 million? 32. $32 million. And this person has nothing, and you can sleep. You can still go to the movies about, and then these are the type of people that get humanitarian awards. Millionaires. How can they be humanitarians by the fact that they millionaires and there's so many poor people shows how unhumane they are? You know what I'm saying? And that bugs me. Not saying that when I'm never going to be rich, and you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying it's a struggle, and I think everybody deserves it. And I think there's a way to pay these people. I think there is a way. It just takes to be revolutionary, and it takes to do something out of the ordinary. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that if we just said, okay, I got an idea. No more porno buildings. You know what I'm saying? Let's build houses. Or no more polo games. Let's build houses for poor people. You know what I'm saying? Or look, okay, I know you're rich. I know you got $40 billion, but can you just keep it to one house? You only need one house. And if you only got 2 kids, can you just keep it to 2 rooms? I mean, why have 52 rooms and you know there's somebody with no room? It just don't make sense to me. It don't. And then these people celebrate Christmas. They got big trees, huge trees, all the little trimmings. Everybody got gifts, and then somebody's starving. And they're having a white Christmas. They're having a great Christmas, eggnog and the whole nine. That's not fair to me.
Absolutely. So I mean, not that I've ever heard in any clips Tupac Shakur actually say I'm a leftist. Um, and this actually speaks to the black community as a whole, in my opinion. Most black people are leftists. They just don't label themselves as leftists. But when you hear them speak about the things that they believe should happen in the world or in the government, it's very left leaning. So as is this clip here with Tupac, I think, you know, maybe he wasn't necessarily, and this is something me and Nick talked about too. You be a leftist by experience, not by theory. And that's why I think a lot of, you know, people of color, indigenous, marginal, you're leftist by their experience. So you go years without health care, you see how much it costs and all this stuff. That makes you think that health care should be a right. That's through an experience. So that's what I believe, you know, applies to a lot of black people, um, and oppressed people. And I keep saying black people because that's what I can speak to. I can't speak to other marginalized groups. I can only, you know, include them, but I can't speak to that. But anyway, so in this instance with Tupac, I do think that he's not necessarily a political person. I mean, I remember growing up when he was alive, and you know, always in LA. Like his I mean you know it in his music. It was something different about his music. He rapped about revolutionary ideas. It was sprinkled all throughout his lyrics. So now uh he may not be, or people, or black people who they may not align themselves with every leftist view. You know, they may not believe that the military should be cut in half, for example. But everything else. So there, you know, there's ways that another thing that reason why I think a lot of black people don't label themselves as leftists is because a lot of black people is still connected to the black church, or to religion, or to Christianity. So so yeah. So anyway, that's the light story. Let's see if anybody has any comments on this before we move on. That's why labels truly don't matter and are used as another tier of distraction. The side you're on should be proven by your actions. That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. That's something I absolutely agree with here. Let's see this one. Most black people in what age demographic? Older black, even older black people, they're not as left talking, but you ask them about Social Security, you ask them about health care, you ask them about minimum wage, you ask them about uh, uh, defund the police, not using the words defund the police, but using what defund the police. They agree with all of that, or a lot of them do. But I'm speaking, when I'm speaking in these generalities. These are generalities. So you being able to say, "Oh, I know somebody that's not like that." That's because I'm speaking in generalities. Um, so yeah, but I'm thinking more the demographic that I'm speaking about would be under 50. Yeah, so that's who I would be speaking about. So those that are under 50. So I get your point or your question. Older black people 45 or yeah. So we're roughly. I didn't finish reading your sentence where you said 45 plus, but roughly we're at the same spot. You're saying 45 plus. I'm saying 50. So that's about the range that we are talking about here. Facts. Um, some of you are just having conversations. Okay, so I know Pac from Digital Underground. He's the greatest. Yeah, Tupac. Absolutely. Tupac was the first rapper I was down with. People have their favorite rappers and beefs, and he was the one. And I didn't listen to Jay-Z for years because Tupac wasn't down with him. So I was that much into Tupac. And yeah, his death was very jarring to LA, in particular Southern California. So let's see what this says. YouTube needs a donate or tip button for videos so we can donate directly to the content creator. Actually, so maybe YouTube's doing it in a roundabout way, but I do think this will be a good idea. So this video will be demonetized or copyright claim, and any money that we did make from ads would go to MTV. I think MTV owns the rights to this. So that's what's gonna. Most of our videos, maybe a lot of you don't know. Most of our, I would say, 75 to 80% of our videos are demonetized. So we're not making a lot of money from Twitter. Like we're spending more money than we're making. So this is why we try to tell people to if you can support us on Patreon and some other ways, our Venmo, our PayPal, and all of that stuff. So anyway, let's move on to the next story. I didn't mean to spend this much time on this story, so let's move on to the next story. And what the next story has to do with, actually, let's take Tupac off here. Yeah, let's take him off. I think we may I'm gonna replay that later only because I love what he says in that video. But the next story came about. So what I do to prepare for these daily shows is I have to watch corporate media news. So in watching it, I just, what kept bringing to me is, man, why do they keep having all this Trump stuff, Trump stuff, Trump stuff? And it's CNN and MSNBC are absolutely obsessed with Trump. Now there could be several, different reasons they're obsessed with Trump. For ratings, they realized that after he left office, ratings dumped. So hey, how can we keep him alive in media, even though he's out of office? January 6th. There you go. But that's how we're gonna keep him alive. And then all these other stories that keep coming out, and this testimony, all garbage in my opinion. So yeah, so let me show you what I mean. What I'm gonna do is bring up, let me get there before I share my screen here. So I'm going to bring up their YouTube channels, and let's just kind of see what they're covering here. Now, to be fair, there has been a lot more content, not a lot more. There's been an uptick in content with the Ukraine. So their coverage has gone from being 90% Trump to more being like 75% Trump when they're adding in that the Ukraine propaganda. So what was I just about to show you here? Oh, let's go to CNN first. CNN. To get there, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, now I'm here. I will share this here. Okay. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. Okay. So, let's go. 47 minutes ago, January 6th. McConnell moving to head off Trump. Let me click this here. Okay. Another Trump story. Here we go. Another one. Let's go with this one. GOP distrusting Russia was a constant. All that charged with Trump. There goes another Trump. So 3 out of 3 so far. I didn't plan this. 3 out of 3 so far is Trump. When we have people getting evicted, we have rents skyrocketing, we have the homeless crisis, we have a pandemic that's still ridiculous because we don't have leadership. And I don't mean the pandemic covered the way they're covering it, shielding for the Biden administration's failures and promoting what, Pfizer and all their big pharma wants to do. That's not what I mean by covering a pandemic. I mean covering the fact that why are we hitting capacity with hospitalizations at 150,000 hospital beds when we have a population of over 330 million people? Why are we not having that conversation? Why isn't the press bringing up that? Instead, we have 3 stories about Donald Trump. Then here, so when they're not propagandizing about Donald Trump, let's propagandize about war. So they move, they go from Trump to war. So here's war here. Okay. David Hogg says Biden needs to act before another Parkland happens. Parkland shooter survivor and co-founder of okay, so this is something about gun violence. So that's a different story. That's 1. So what is that? 5. So 3 out of 5 so far. Okay, good. Absolute chaos. CNN sports analysis reacts to Camila ruling. Figure skater will be allowed. Oh, I guess she was ruled able to be allowed. She's underage and some kind of banned substance. So right here, I'm assuming this is going to be China propaganda. Rep DeSantis unconscionable support of Don't Stay Gay bill. That's something they should be covering. So that's good that they're covering that. Former Fox anchor finds network's coverage of Canada protests ironic. Right. I love how they do this. Both the network, all these networks do this. They bring on former people who are now saying something. It's like, who cares? But this is how they get their viewers invested in their network and invested in hating the another network. This is the type of thing they get. As if the other propagandists are worse than them. The absurdity of these people. Here we go. Not how it works. Tapper reacts to Biden dismissing Afghanistan probe. So this is about the Afghanistan probe. Great. Sullivan warns Russia could potentially, so more war propaganda. That's 2. War propaganda. And then this looks like the same story. Yeah, it's the same story. I'm not sure why it's doubling back. That one too. And then, but here's a Hillary story. Hillary's is trolling Trump. Another Trump story. And the way they covered this guy's resignation, something else is going on behind this story here. Because everybody is talking about like they lost a loved one, dead, like somebody died. Something's going on, not no relationship mishap. Something else is going on behind the scenes with that story. And then they, go ahead and jump right back into Trump. They got a mix of Trump shit. Then right here, Trump. Look at this shit. Trump. Like I said, CNN and MSNBC clearly are deranged over Trump, or they're pushing this for ratings. Now, think about this. This is how he became president. They pushed him from ratings, thinking, of course, people are not going to vote for Donald Trump. But we're getting great ratings from this clown show. They propped them up. The problem with their plan is you have one of the most worst candidates to run, where some Democrats don't like her. You prop up Hillary Clinton, probably the one or two people on the planet that could lose to Donald Trump. You could literally put up almost anybody else, and they would beat Trump. But you happen to pick the one or two people on the planet that could lose to Trump. So they're complicit with his presidency. They never covered that. They blame it on the voters for not showing up for a terrible candidate. Or they blame it on Jill Stein, or blame it on Ralph Nader. They blame it on the Bernie bros. Blame it on Bernie Sanders. The Democrats are in trouble for 2022. They're going to get shellacked because they're terrible. And that's the thing. Like, let me see what he says here. It's easy, CJ. Push Trump and everyone has an opinion on Trump. That is true. That is true. Let's see here. America's most trusted news source, CNN, exactly. I'll be back tonight, Harry. Oh, maybe signing to somebody. But anyway, that's what I'm saying. The Zucker coverage is weird. Yeah, it's very, very weird to me, the coverage of that guy leaving and how they're talking about him. And I heard when I read another story that behind the scenes, I guess all the anchors and all the people had a call or some sort of meeting with the new people who are taking over, like Jeff Zucker's boss. And they were yelling and mad, and even Don Lemon was upset. Like, what the hell's going on? Why is he leaving? Like, this guy. I was so unaware of what this guy was. How much he was so involved with crafting propaganda. I didn't know. I was unaware. But yeah, he's the architect, if you will. Of the propagandist machine over there at CNN. Back to what I was saying, just like they propped up Donald Trump, promoting him for ratings, because that's all it's about. They really don't give a damn about who's the president, they're going to get ratings. They probably would love to have Donald Trump back because their ratings would skyrocket again. They probably would love to have Donald Trump back in the White House. And the way the Democrats are going right now, and Joe Biden, he's likely to come back to the White House. You know how awful you have to be as a party, as a candidate, to lose to a guy like Donald Trump? You know how terrible you got to be to do that? You literally just not have to be terrible and you would win. That's all you have to be, is not terrible. You don't have to be all inspired, just not be terrible. Democrats can't put up somebody solidly that you can say is not terrible. Kamala, terrible. Pete, terrible. Joe Biden, terrible. And this is a good segue for another part of this story. Let me find it first here. Let me see if I'm sharing. So let me find it first. Not find it, but let me go to where I have it stored here. I don't need to search for it. So this poll here is a quick video. It's from a YouTube channel called GOP War Room, and I like this channel because I go to them because they curate anything in the corporate media that's negative about Obama. Or I'm sorry, about the Democrats or Joe Biden in particular. They curate. They get the rights to post, and they post it on there, so you can catch a bunch of videos. Watch this video now that I have it up. So I'm sorry, now that I have it located. So let's put it up here. So I said, you know how terrible you have to be to lose to Donald Trump? Like, you're barely beating Donald Trump. That means you're almost as equally as terrible in the people who are voting. In my eyes, you're equally as terrible. But even for the people you're propagandizing, you're almost as equally as terrible as the person you're saying is going to kill democracy. So this clip here kind of goes over who should be the Democrats' nominee for 2024. Watch this.
And we've got some brand new data out this morning about the future of the Democratic ticket. Fewer than half of Democrats want President Biden to be their nominee in 2024. And CNN's Lauren Fox joins the conversation. So this is not great. I mean, it's not great for Biden from a political sense, but also from an economic sense, which is driving these numbers. And President Biden ran on promising to return people to a sense of normalcy. Here we are. More than 2 years, I guess 3 years, depending on how you look at it, into the pandemic, and 75% of Americans are saying they are totally burned out.
Yes, and I must say, I believe her name is Abby. Let me see if it shows her name here. So I do want to get it right. Don't want to. Oops. Let's go back.
And we've got some brand new data out this morning about the future of the Democratic ticket. Fewer than half of Democrats want President Biden to be their nominee in 2024. And CNN's Lauren Fox joins the conversation. So
no, they don't show it, so I don't need to replay the whole thing. Anyway, the comment I was gonna make about what's her name? Abby something. But the black anchor here. I do. One, I remember she used to just be like on the sidelines, right? She used to be just like on the side, like she would barely be able to talk, kind of thing. And I was surprised to see that she was the one leading the segment. So I did want to say it's important to acknowledge something here, and that she's a black anchor that has dark complexion. That's important, even in the fake symbolism of diversity. That's important, that it's a darker complexion black woman. So I just wanted to say that is important for all the colorism reasons, all the self-hating reasons that's within the black community, based off of white supremacy, self-hating, slavery, all of that stuff, right? So just wanted to say that. Now, of course, her politics I don't agree with, if this is her politics or if she's just playing the role. What I'm just saying is, Abby Phillips, that's her name. So I just want to make sure I get her name. Is it Abby Phillips? Yeah, I think that's Abby Phillips. Yeah. So just wanted to make that point. Is not at all, I'm not going to go in depth with that. I'm just wanted to make the point that is important, that a chocolate female in particular, because media doesn't have a problem with chocolate men. It's the chocolate women on screen is who they have issue, or where there's issues with. So again, just wanted to acknowledge that part. And let's move on to the next story here. Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes. I wanted to wait until we got more people streaming with us or watching with us, and thank you for everybody who has joined. Let's hang on a second here. I am changing. So let's cover the Freedom Convoy last, and let's cover Nancy Pelosi story next. Nancy Pelosi, Cori Bush story. And so I've read news reports that not news reports. I forgot what I was reading or viewing, and I always do that. Where I heard rumor, gossip, let's just put it that way, because I can't recall where I saw it from. Cori Bush getting pressure to denounce defund the police. And those stories I was hearing that last week before Nancy Pelosi made this appearance and made it very clear that the Democratic Party is against defund the police. So let's go ahead and play. Oops. Now that I have okay, I think it's up. Okay, now it's up. Sorry, I was trying to talk to prolong. It's going slow. But anyway, here is Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi, I should say. Let's give her respect because I don't want it to be different because she's a female. Like, I don't know if I would be different if I were to describe them differently. So let's just say it that way. Speaker Pelosi.
Thing that's weighing on people right now is rising crime. And there appear to be some divisions among Democrats about how to handle it. Your colleague.
I'm going to rewind it here. And let's listen.
The other thing that's weighing on people right now is rising crime. And there appear to be some divisions among Democrats about how to handle it. Your colleague, Karen Bass, running for mayor of Los Angeles, is trying to increase the police force in LA. Cori Bush, Congresswoman from Missouri, is saying it's time to defund the police. She's sticking by that. You're the speaker. How do you think Democrats should address rising crime?
Well, with all the respect in the world for Cori Bush, that is not the position of the Democratic Party. Community safety, to protect and defend in every way, is our oath of office. And I have sympathy. We're all concerned about mistreatment of people, and that's why Karen Bass had.
Killing people is labeled as mistreatment from the white Democrats that people want Black people to vote for. To me, this is big because Black people under 35, 30, this is a clear, okay, we're for sure not with you now. So, yeah, let me see if I can get through this.
Had the Justice and Policing Act, and we would hope to get some of that done, whether it's no knock or chokehold, or some of those issues.
Right, as if no knock and chokeholds. Let me say it a different way. How we talk about, or how the establishment talks about the abuse by police towards marginalized people, people of color in particular, it's very catered to a white ear. It's very tailored to make sure we don't say shit too much that make white suburban people feel uncomfortable here. Amir Locke was not killed by a chokehold, so what does that reform do? No knock warrants, you know what they're saying? We'll retake a look at it. Let's make some revisions. How about we just don't have it? You notice how Black people are dying, but it only gets modest changes. They're telling us they don't give a fuck about our lives. People are literally dying where there's people, Black men in particular, being shot and killed in the news. And this is all the party that represents Black people has to say. Black people, you have got to wake the fuck up. Supporting the Democratic Party is being anti-Black, in my opinion. They don't support the number one issue for Black people, and that's healthcare. Don't support that. They don't support ending police brutality against our community. Why are we voting for these people? Why? Why are we voting for these people? This stuff is just gets me so frustrated that not more people aren't seeing that this is just a terrible party. They don't represent Black people. They're racist. Just think about it. Think about it. Think about, and this mirrors the story of the United States. Black people put these white people on their backs so the white people can win. And then when Black people say, okay, it's time for payment for the work I did, do a bunch of other shit first. The Voting Rights Act, which I'm not for, but Black people, Black boomers, Black people who support the Democratic Party that would vote for them, they wanted that. What happened to that? What type of effort was put into that? I don't understand, like, what else has to happen for you to stop supporting them? Is there more to this bullshit from this motherfucker right here? No. Oh, there is.
Issues, even if we can't get it all done. But make no mistake, community safety is our responsibility. And I quote one of my colleagues from New
Haven't seen the video. I wonder if the person she's going to quote is Black.
York, Richie Torres, a brand new member of Congress, way on the left, saying
Richie Torres.
That defund the police is dead. That caused.
He said defund the police. Some jackass said defund the police. So it's over. So it's over. That's it. Let's pack up. RBN, pack up, guys. This is over. This feels to me like white
causes a concern,
like white supremacists talking about Black shit. That's what this feels like to me. What America has become is racist people who conceal their racism because it's no longer cool to be racist. It's no longer cool to be racist. So you conceal it, like Joe Biden. Oh, I'm doing things. You remember how Joe Biden talked to those civil rights leaders on that conference call that leaked? That's how he talks to civil rights leaders. She points out a worthless nobody. He says it's dead. So it's dead. They're afraid. This is fear. Who does that? Who comes out and says defund the police is dead when defund the police never was rolled out? Why are they doing that? Unless it's an indication of fear that defund the police is not going away. So we need to try to kill it. But you're not going to kill it. Let's see what people are saying in the comments here. I clipped, case study QB in the building, sir. I clipped Jimmy Torres saying defund the police is over. He is not on our team. Thank you, case study QB in the house. I'm gonna go find that video on your YouTube. Let me see if you're made another comment here. I'm gonna go find that video and see if I can find it on your YouTube here. Maybe it's recently. If anybody's following Case Study QB and can find that video, post it in there. I'll put it up. They don't want defund the police to rear its ugly head. Biden was so racist and disrespectful towards civil rights leaders in that video. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is the concealing part that I'm talking about. Because no matter how much concealing you do when you're a racist, you have tails. You have things that knee jerk, your natural reaction will come out here and there. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. The corn pop story and the kids and the roaches, the Freudian slip that, you know, poor kids or black kids can be just as good as white kids. I forget the exact quote. Those are Freudian slip. That was a Freudian slip to me. Anyway, let's see if there's any comment here. Case Study QB. Here, NYPD annual budget is $5 billion if cops stop crime. Can you believe that? If you're spending $5 billion on the police force, you should have zero crime. The criminals should be coming in, turning in other criminals. Like, that's the type of shit you should be having for $5 billion. And you want more money. This shit is it's so absurd. $5 billion? Is that true? $5 billion. And you can't find non-racist cops? With unless that's what you're looking for. Pelosi is arguably more of a racist conservative, and I wouldn't doubt that. That statement is not shocking at all to me. You saying that. Not whatsoever. So now let me go to Cori Bush. Let's take this piece of work out of the screen here, and let's now go to Cori Bush. I don't have a video per se. Oh, Case Study sent it to me. Thank you, Case Study. Next time you're available at this time, I gotta have you jump on here. So Case Study was so gracious to DM. Oops. Oh, I don't know. They do this for your videos if you're watching Case. I can't see any of your stuff unless I click that view thing. It's so bizarre. Like on just regular, like non-offensive videos, it's on all of your videos. I think you told me that, but it's so ridiculous that they're treating you like that. But anyway, so let me share. I know the audience is like, what is he talking about? I wanted to bring it up. I kept making mistakes last week. So I'm trying to bring up the videos before I actually share my screen. And so that's what you're seeing a difference in compared to last week. So this quote unquote, this guy is not a progressive and not a leftist. Not a leftist in the global sense of the word. If you're talking about the right-wing country of the United States and the Overton window being far to the right, a center right person can be considered left. A center person can be considered left. So let's listen to this jackass.
I agree with the mayor. The defund police movement is dead in New York City, and good riddance. And any elected official who's...
I'm going to play that again. He doesn't seem to have... It seems like he's just saying this. I'm looking for the belief. So this is what I'm about. Like I'm less about what the words are coming out of your mouth than everything else that's happening when you're talking. That's how I examine people. I'm looking at your face. Is your eye twitching when you say a particular word? Is your eyebrows moving? Are your lips twitching? Are you not making a particular face when you're advocating for something? So let's look and see.
I agree with the mayor. The defund police movement is dead in New York City, and good riddance. And any elected official who's advocating for the abolition or even the defunding of police is out of touch with reality and should not be taken seriously.
You know what this is about? A brown face. He looks Afro Latin to me. But a brown face saying the words of master. That's what this is. And it looks like he's forced. Like, I don't know the person, so I don't know if he always looks this dry when he speaks. But that was pretty dry, and it gives me the impression he's just saying that shit. And he's just playing the role of a good house Negro. And if he's brown, you a house Negro. If you're indigenous, they're looking at you. That's all the same to me. The category is what I'm talking about. So, I got a super chat. Let me make sure. So sometimes I miss these super chats because I have my other window up controlling it and I don't see the chat screen. So my apologies for that. Let me put that on the screen there. United States police budget is higher than most nations' military budget. That's obscene. That is just obscene. Here goes case study. I saw him here back. Let's see what he says. Good to see you. We following each other through YouTube. He's speaking to him. So I'm sorry. I thought that was something for us to put up. Oh, let's look at this one here. Here he goes. He always looks dry. Even on Bill Maher's show a couple of weeks ago. Okay, so he's always like this. So maybe he is a piece of work. Then he's not just playing. Oh, either way, I guess. Even if he didn't feel the words and he was just saying it. Either way, you're propping up white supremacy. And good riddance. You hear that part? And good riddance. Like, how is it dead? One, when it was never enacted. And wouldn't you have to bring on defund the police advocates to come on and say it's dead? How are people who weren't involved in the movement saying it's dead? It is an attempt to make white people feel comfortable. That's what this is all about, in my opinion. So I have couple of things written down here. Let me make sure I get this off before. Let me take this off here. Actually, I'm going to replay that in just a second. So I'm going to leave it up for now. So let's talk about this. Oh, actually, no, I need to show you first. I need to show you Cori Bush's tweets first before I get to the second part. Here. So Cori Bush. Here, now I have it up. Let's close this other thing. Let's remove this. Oh, that was it. Oh, perfect. See, I'm behind with technology. All right, so Cori Bush, that's her tweet, right? Yeah. My colleagues keep telling us to wait. They keep telling us defunding the police and investing in communities won't work. Well, those policies keep ending up with police murdering black people. Enough patronizing. That's exactly what this is. That appearance, those what Nancy Pelosi was saying, patronizing. Oh, I have a lot of respect for Cori Bush. No, you don't. We know behind the scenes you was trying to twist her arm to leave this movement, to stop advocating for this movement. We know that's what you're trying to do. But maybe this was one issue she was not willing to do that on. And there's many others she may be willing to, but this particular issue, she's not. And I think that's a good thing, because we need an elected official, one, tweeting defund the police, so that in the way that Nancy Pelosi had to respond to it, she couldn't come out and just say, no, that shit is dumb as fuck, because she still have Democrats who are pushing it. So she had to come out and say, I respect her, everything, but that's not our position. We're for safety and all of that. That's why she had to put it that way. And let me say this. Talking about solving crime without talking about economics, you're not talking about solving crime. All you're trying to do, if crime is boiling water, is put a lid so white people can't see all the suffering that's going on. Because crime is a symptom of the suffering that's happening. This is why they just go and sit in the neighborhood, so that the person who has anxiety, the guy with the PTSD who just had enough, hey, there's a cop car out there, so don't go out there and do anything crazy. It's right outside your house. Does that stop the oppression? Does that stop the PTSD? Does that stop the anxiety? Does that stop the living check to check? It's about out of sight, out of mind for white America. So they just need black crime to go away. And it's another thing. This is another propaganda tool. Crime is up 30%. Really? Give me the raw numbers. Because if there's 10 crimes, 10 murders, and it goes to 13, that's up 30%. But do you see how if you say crime is up by 3 more murders, that doesn't sound the same as saying crime is up 30%. But they never ask, why are you committing crimes? Because the framing of white supremacy is, it doesn't matter the reason. Black people are going to commit crimes because that's who they are. So don't tell me about oppression. Don't tell me about trauma. Don't tell me about that. You should be able to overcome all of that and still live the American dream. You see the absurdity of that bullshit? And I'm speaking about black because that's who I can speak about. Expected to survive you criminalizing all of our black men, all of our black relatives, putting them in jail. We're supposed to survive that. Survive underfunded schools, survive the slave patrol occupations of our cities, survive all of that, survive poverty, and live the American dream. Because everybody going through that situation can live the American dream. That's realistic. Yeah, this is an issue that does kind of gets me upset here. But yeah, it's the absurdity of the expectation of people of color to have the same American dream scenario is so preposterous. Let's see this here. Remember, when the left makes any gains at all, they will shut down the internet. You need local roots for when the wind blows. That is a great, great piece of advice. Make connections locally, because when the revolution comes, they're going to shut down YouTube. they're going to shut down Twitter. You need to be able to be in community contact by establishing those local roots. Very important. Crime always goes up before a budget. Yep. Always. And who's the one reporting crime? So the cops that are killing people, we're believing their numbers. Gotcha. No-knock raids are but one form of police violence. Terrorism, ID demand another. To me, no-knock warrants are death warrants. They're warrants saying, we want to kill this person, but if they happen to survive, okay. Because you're trying to tell me the normal human reaction of being surprised out of sleep, somebody barging in your house, and you supposed to, I don't give a fuck if you're saying police. I'm waking up out of sleep. I have no idea what the fuck's going on, regardless if you're saying police. You never heard of a robber coming in saying police? So just because you say it, that makes the shit true? Waking people out of sleep? It's to kill people. No-knock warrants are to kill people. He wasn't, Amir Locke wasn't the intended person they wanted to kill. Whoever was named on the warrant was the one they wanted to kill. White fear. Jacob Blake is walking to a car that has a gun, and y'all motherfuckers got guns, and you're scared. How is that not white fear? I mean, how many stories we've seen? A person with a mental illness shot. Oh, he picked up a rake. Motherfucker, you got guns. That's white fear. For a white person that's 8 people deep, loaded, to be afraid of one person. White fear. No one with an irrational fear of black people should be a police officer. I mean, I want to abolish the police, but I'm saying while we're having them, no one who has an irrational fear of black people should be a police officer. Now, ask yourself, how many would that eliminate from police departments if that was the threshold? Right? So let's move on from this. Let's get to the main story because I only got maybe another 20, 30 minutes to do this. So let's do the Freedom Convoy poll. And again, I was not expecting. Actually, let me just say this one last part about this defund the police. I want to make these points. Democrats are the ones running these cities where police departments are brutalizing people of color. They're the ones running the cities. Democrats are in bed with police unions. Democrats understand, I should say, Democratic mayors are in bed with police unions. Democrats understand in a racist country like the United States, you must play to white fear and white comfort. So saying defund the police is dead, there's no reason to use that phrasing unless you're speaking to white racists and white comfort. There's no reason to say it like that. Unless you're trying to put them on display. Look, give them this is an example of what we do to people who want to stop police brutalizing black people. We put those movements, we make them dead. Democrats, so they understand that white America is racist. Both parties actually understand that. You ever heard of the Southern strategy? And I almost think that this could be loosely a Southern strategy. George Floyd murder produced the largest protest in American history, and Democrats have not done anything legislatively. Nothing. Democrats refuse to end qualified immunity. So with all of that, they're now saying they're against defund the police. How are they not anti-Black? How are they not anti-Indigenous? How are they not anti-people of color? Just terrible. So let's move to the next story. I spent too much time on these smaller stories. So let's go ahead to the main story, and we're going to start with the tweet. Actually, let's start with the results tweet, and then we'll get into the details. So here is the, is this it? Let me see. Yeah, here are the results. Let me see if this makes this, actually I can make it bigger. So here are the results. Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay. All right, so the question was, do you support the Freedom Convoy? And I wanted to make a distinction between leftists and non-leftists. So the options were no, I'm not a leftist. Which one? No, I'm sorry. No, I'm a leftist. The next one, no, not a leftist. Yes, I'm a leftist. And yes, period, not a leftist. So the winner, not by a lot, was no, I'm a leftist, 44%, 44.3%, versus yes, I'm a leftist, 36.7. So again, 44.3% of leftists or self-identified leftists say they don't support the Freedom Convoy. Do not. And 36.7% says, yes, I do support the Freedom Convoy, and I'm a leftist. And this is how the raw numbers break down here. Yes, these are total. If you combine just, leftist and non-leftist total, the yeses won. So when you're combining these two down here, yes, I'm a leftist, and yes, not a leftist, those are larger numbers. 53.7% support the Freedom Convoy who took this poll. And I should say 2,637 people were polled. So that comes down to 1,416 people said yes. 1,218 people. That's about 202 people off. That's a difference. That's not a big difference. The leftists, and again, this is about, that's exactly 200 difference here. 200 difference. So that's about, what is that? That's about 8%, a little over 8% difference, which is not a big difference. And now let me now go. Actually, let's read some of the comments here. Let's read some of the quoted tweets here. See what people thought. And I'm going to get to your comments. So if you were one of the people who commented on the tweet and you happen to be here listening or with me live, I will try to find you in the comments because I kind of want to have some follow-up questions for you. So here. This is from, I'm going to read their actual name, or Kavi, the leftist blacksmith. I'll just read all of it. And they're at Left Blacksmith. This is unfortunate. I'm still torn on the actual people involved in the trucker convoy, but that doesn't mean I don't support their cause. Protests are good no matter who's involved, especially if it's disrupting the order of business for the establishment. That should happen. So it seems like a measured response to this poll. Let's go to this next one. This is, I think that's airlaybeardod.com or La Beardod. So at La Beardod, the people who voted yes, I'm a leftist to this are the same MFers trying to convince everyone that boogs weren't just Flash in Hawaiian shorts. I don't know boogs. I don't know who that is. But yes, that's your comment. And let's see the next comment here. This is exactly why the left isn't the only thing that matters. Thanks. This is exactly why the left isn't the only thing that matters. So they're saying, I'm taking from that comment, the left need to have a broader perspective? Is the left narrow-minded about coalition building? That's actually a question we've been wrestling with. Let's go ahead to the next one. This one is Winkin Blinken at Great Filter 72. Who watches believes mainstream media? Who doesn't watch believe mainstream media? I think he's saying, or this person is saying, this is a reflection of who watches mainstream media and who does not. Believe that's what the point is. Pascal at the big underscore big underscore but with one T. Why do U.S. leftists sabotage the only good pro-choice argument? Let me try to see what I understand. Why do U.S. leftists sabotage the only good pro-choice argument? I don't know. That's a good question. Nobody responded to you. Wow, that would have been helpful. People cannot have it both ways. Either you fight against those with authoritarian power, or you just accept that it's your personal preference on who you prefer being oppressed by authoritarian power. We have a long way to go. Too bad times ticking away. So what I read from this, and Chris, I believe Chris is one who usually watches live because that picture kind of looks familiar. At Legend Socialist, love the name. Let me see if you're here first in the comments before. Let me see who here's in the comments to make sure. Okay. He's against abortion. Okay. Most of the convoy are probably capitalists, so let me ask this question from that. If people, because they're not necessarily capitalists, to me, you got to have a lot of money, more than thousands or sometimes even millions. So if you're a capitalist worker, and a lot of truckers are owner operators, not necessarily working for a company, does that mean that they cannot stage a direct action that is effective against a capitalist issue? Would be my question to that. Because most people, even in unions who would go on a general strike, they believe in capitalism because they've been conditioned to do that. So if the bar is if they are capitalist or believe in capitalism, then that makes the direct action different. That's a question. That's a conversation we all should have. Indigenous Canadian leftists and I support the truckers. Travis McKay. People who differentiate poor and working class people according to race are that's a word I always have trouble to say, stooges of the ruling elite and will do anything to gain their affection and cash. Let me read the first part again. People who differentiate poor and working class people according to race. That is not something we want to do. And that is something that the United States duopoly actively does with rural whites and urban people of color all the time. When to me, I say this all the time, they're in the same boat. They're both urban whites and blacks urban people of color and rural whites have a lot in common. Underfunded cities, underfunded schools, lack of job opportunity, economics are terrible in that area. So there's a lot of overlapping things that we should be on the same side for. So yeah, I get that. Let's see this one. BLM was supported by left-wing billionaires like Soros. That didn't mean we shouldn't have protested alongside BLM protests. We need to capitalize on frustrations of people. So we're going to delve into that part too. So because after reading the let's take this off and let me bring up that poll. So after going through the poll, the cases were basically one side was saying this was a racist movement and the other side was saying this was a worker movement. So that was basically the gist of the breakdown that I saw. But let me go to the actual. Oops, it would help if I minimize this again. So bear with me about 2 minutes to bring this next one up here. This next one, where is it? Oh, the actual poll. And it's small. That's why I kept scrolling by it. All right, so now let's bring up the actual poll. And we're going to read some comments here. I have anxiety about reading comments without checking through them because sometimes I don't know what people are going to say. I'm looking for the share button. So here's the share button. So let's hope that I'm able to understand and read through this here. Okay, so here is the initial. This is the poll here. We already saw the result. Oops. Go back. Okay, so here is the original tweet here. I still don't have a clear understanding where the left stands with the Freedom Convoy. Some say it's racist people behind it, and others say it's workers. Some tell me the racist people are FBI-like infiltrators trying to give it a bad name. Others say it's real. So another thing I want to point out before we go into the comments is that I noticed the word support was being used differently in conversations, and people, I didn't feel like people were noticing that. Sometimes people were using the word support to talk about the people on the ground. And then sometimes people were saying support to talk about the people, the capitalists, the people who are trying to capitalize off of this ground protest. Like American right wingers, they're trying to capitalize by donating them money. So sometimes those people, when they say support, they're talking about those people. So just keep that in mind when we go through this. So there's that. We already went to the poll. We know the numbers. So let's look at some of the comments here. I wish these were in order. There's not a way to have them in a chronological order. So friend of the show here, Layla, part of the Punch Up podcast with Pat the Burner. She posts this article here, says, I'm looking at the organizers of the convoy, not just some bad Apple infiltrators. And that's what this article, I guess, she posted here. Some trucker convoy organizers have history of white nationalism. So that's what this is pointing out. And then there's another one here. Who is who? A guide to the major players in a trucker convoy protest. This article also talks about it. And then we have this comment here. If the US GOP mad about private companies not allowing donations, sounds like, is this person responding? Oh, he is responding to me. I thought he responded to a comment about donations. But if the US GOP mad about private companies not allowing donations to a Canadian protest, I don't know what clearer a sign is needed to what is behind it. Okay. Let's go to the next comment. This one, I believe, Chris Richards, and he is responding to that comment I just read. So, for all the complaining we do about the Democratic Party, now would be a good time to mention that the same people who organized the January 6th attack and raised money for them were behind fundraising for the Nazi truckers. So he calls them the Nazi truckers. This is Chris Richardson's response there. Okay. Let's go to some other ones. This one had a large response, 105 likes. This one here, this is a direct response to me. Okay. So the people saying it's racist or right wing, can an entire convoy be racist or right wing? That's the question. Are the same people that try to say the same thing about forced to vote and in the March for Medicare for All. That is a great point, that March for Medicare for All and forced to vote were both had racist people involved. They said we have racist people involved. Remember when they found someone that said they said was a Nazi that was organizing Medicare for All March for Medicare for All. Then it became all about that. That is a great point. That is a great point. So let's see what this person responses Blue Check Beth got. Let's see what you got, Beth, here. So this person respond here. I feel pretty great about not wanting to collaborate with fascists. The organizers are bad people. Why would we want to work with them? And then this post or this picture is what is put up. Meet your Canadian trucker convoy organizers. James Balder, I think that's how you say it. Shares. I don't care about that. Benjamin shares a tweet. Like, that's not a thing to me. Benjamin Ditcher claims the Liberal Party is infested with Islamists. That is a problem. Jason LaFace linked to racist soldier of Odin. That's a problem. Tamara Lynch, I think that's how you say it. Alberta separatist, member of the Yellow Vest, and racist Clarion. Because I thought the Yellow Vest in France, for example, is a good thing. So are we saying this is bad here? Racist Clarion Project. Because if they're saying member of Yellow Vest is a problem, then I'm starting to question this whole graphic here. Pat King, Alberta separatist, who warns of Anglo-Saxon. Okay. I mean, if this is your smoking gun, this is pretty weak to me. That's pretty weak to me. And that's not to say that none of this is true. I'm just saying, give me more than the worst thing is infested with Islamists. That's terrible. Like some of the other things, like I'm not sure. You're calling them a separatist. You say separatist who warned of Anglo-Saxon replacement. I need to know more about that because I don't want a gotcha quote. So I need to know more about that. This is what everybody should be doing here. Like, be skeptical. Don't just take everything for face value. Anything. Anyway, let's move on. This one says, or this person says, no, I'm not. I'm believing there. Oh, so they're responding to this person. So remember when they found something, then it became all about. And it says, no, I'm not. I supported both. So this person speaking now, Dale, they're not for the convoy. Say, no, I'm not for the convoy. I supported both FTV, Force to Vote, and March for America Vote, but I don't support the trucker convoy. I don't care if others choose to support it, but I don't. So that's what this person is saying. So that is also a possibility. Let's look and see in comments if anybody has any new comments before I go back to that. Alberta equals Texas. Oh, Alberta, Texas. Oh, I thought maybe. I thought there was Alberto in Canada. Isn't there something? Let's see here. CJ, the yellow vests were taken over by conservative right wings in Canada, not left wing. That is freaking terrible. Oh, I mean, I'm not going to necessarily say it's terrible. If they're fighting also, I mean, I guess fighting the establishment is a good thing. And like the person said, like, fighting the establishment, is it good or bad? Or is it only good when leftists fight establishments? But the yellow vests were taken over by conservative right wing. Wow. That's surprising to me. That's surprising. I'm thinking of right wing in the same way of right wings in America. So I don't know if it's different in Canada. I support March for Medicare for All, but not Freedom Convoy. The difference is class standpoint. And that is Zayden. Thank you, Zayden. Right here, Dr. Dale's mainstream media. We're going to change that to corporate stream media because we're mainstream. Corporate stream media said everyone on the left was Antifa domestic terrorists during BLM. Biden increased police budgets. That is a great point. If the point is when black people were protesting, look at the coverage and look what happened. And now you have a bunch of white people protesting and look at the coverage. If that's what the point is. Thank you for that. Bill Bradley, a regular here. Left wing, right wing. The truckers are workers on strike affecting capital by not working. That means we should try to deprogram them. So what Bill is saying, and I kind of like the idea, is left wing, right wing, the truckers are workers. So regardless if left wing or right wing, so they're striking and it's affecting capital, which is a good thing, is what this person is saying. So he's saying, so since they're doing that, if they have some other bad views or some views, that means we should try to deprogram them. A person who doesn't understand Marxist-Leninism or Marxism, who doesn't understand that. Let's say a person who doesn't, that's kind of a bad example, so I won't use that. No example. Let's just move to the next comment. Yeah, that wouldn't have turned out well. So everyone on the left trusts the science, so they don't need to listen to actual workers. Let's see here. Just because you're anti-mandates doesn't mean you should support the convoy. I mean, I'm very anti-government, but that does not mean I support the January 6th insurrection. So I hear that. So natural law is saying, so natural law's point is that being on the same policy. So this is a different spectrum where I talked about earlier, where urban people of color and rural blacks, they have a lot of the same overlapping issues, meaning the policies would affect them both in a good way, but they're not teaming up. That's kind of the opposite, where you have overlapping policies, but for whatever reason, you're not on the same side. In this case, what natural law is saying, you are on the same policy, but being on the same policy doesn't necessarily mean you should team up or support that group or entity. That is interesting to explore that part of the conversation. If anybody had any comments on natural law there. CJ, I think I went. So then it looks like I'm starting to repeat comments. Let me go down for new comments. The Koch Foundation is anti-mandate. Are they pro-worker? No. So this is an example of what I was just reading, where the policy is the same, but do you team up with the Koch brothers, and do you consider that? The Koch brothers are anti-mandate for a different reason than a worker would be anti-mandate. So that is a great nuance point. So you could be brought to the same policy by different reasons, and those reasons matter, is what I'm hearing. If we're brought to defund the police, KKK wants to defund the police because they don't want black people to be able to call the police when they are burning crosses. They want to defund the police. And black people want to defund the police because they're being brutalized by the police. You see how both want defund the police, but do you team up? So that's a very nuanced way of looking at it. So yes, let's look at some others. Bill Gates, Hillary Clinton, and Tory Blair are pro-vaccine mandate. Are they pro-worker? Oh, I guess the person was making a counterpoint to the other point. So the Freedom Convoy is anti-mandate to rile up culture wars and divisions in the voila. Is that what's going on? The Freedom Convoy is anti-mandate to rile up culture wars and divisions in the working class. Is this really breaking down the working class? Separating us? Sabrina and I were talking, and JB were talking about the left really doesn't know how to build coalition and can't build coalition because we don't know where the lines are. What is acceptable to coalition with? Otherwise, we can only coalition with people who are 100%, because you have to give up something. Are you fine with coalitioning with people who are pro-life? Are you fine with people who are pro-military? You're fine with people who don't believe that there's a crisis in climate change. You get what I'm saying? Like, we don't have a roadmap to how and who are we going to coalition with. But one thing the left needs to understand: if we're not going to if we're going to X out everybody because they don't fall in line with what we want or what we believe, that means we're not coalitioning with anybody, and that means the same people who are with our team right now is all we're going to have, which means we're not going to get nothing done. I don't know the answer. I'm simply making a diagnostic. I'm just simply examining what's going on. Let's see what this one is. The funny thing is that this isn't a left-right issue. Specifically, what the truckers are asking for is universal. That is right. Koch brothers, Koch brothers, not Crotch. Yeah, that's absolutely right. That is absolutely right. Um. Okay, so let me get past the pronunciations. You're talking about pronunciations here. The separate, you separate the issue. Dumb Oh, somebody's commenting. Somebody. I didn't mean to put somebody's personal beefs in the comments on blast. The poll's accuracy was pretty accurate. Divisiveness. CJ should set up a polling firm. Yeah, right. I should maybe. But let's go back to some of the comments here. Um, and there are some that I retweeted. Let me see if I can get to some of those that I retweeted here. Because otherwise, because there's literally over 300 comments. So there's too many, obviously, to go through here. But let's see here. Let's see this one here. Okay. This is a new one I haven't seen. So this person is also responding to this. The people saying it's racist or right wing. Okay. You responded to that comment earlier. You mean when anti-fascists pointed out this guy was organizing and was a keynote speaker for Medicare for All March in Muncie, and the organizers called Antifa researchers government spies instead of accepting their failed and promising to be better. That was I'm not there on that. Anyway, let's get to, if I can get back to this part. This is where I need to find my other comments that I retweeted. So let's find the other ones that I retweeted here. And we're doing the ones I retweeted because I've read over it, and that's why I know that what it says. So this one here from Bernie Girl, her and Frank Analysis kind of disagreed on here. So I'll get his response to what she says here. Actually, let's go to his response, and then we can see her comment from there. So here is his response. So, and here's her comment. Someone's post I read made a good point. If these are workers fighting for their rights, why haven't they kicked out the Nazis? Why haven't they kicked the Nazis out? I find this to be a very good point. Before I get to his point, what I would say to this is, in a movement, there's no person that kicks out a person. So there's no, if there's a lot, of course, if there's, two, but there's 10, 50, like, and they're truckers, I don't necessarily see how they would kick them out. They're like, you know what I mean? Like, Nazis can vote. They have the right to vote. Nazis have the right to not be discriminated against just because you disagree with them. As a leftist, you should not go back on all of your humanity, is what I'm getting at. Now, what Frank, I said Franco, but Frank Analysis says is that's not a good point at all. That's an assumption. How do you know they're even still there, meaning the Nazis? How do you know of they were there at all? Or how do you know if they were there at all? I think this is supposed to be if they were there at all. How do you know if people didn't kick them out? Right. How do you know if they didn't keep coming back besides that? Right. So that's basically what I was saying. Like, in a free will country, if they say, "Hey, get out of here," and they just don't, like, what are they going to do? That's basically what Franco is bringing up here. So there's a ton of comments. I hope I'm getting to anybody's who is here. Let's see here. We notice how cops treat truckers in January 6th. Yeah, it's different. No country run by Communist Party has a mandate. I don't think there's a Communist Party. There's no communist country, I think. They do kick them out, or maybe this person means they did kick them out. China had a mandate. Oh, they're talking about mandates here. Okay, so I thought you were commenting on something else. Okay, so let's go to a couple more comments before we sign off here, just to make sure I cover a bunch of different perspectives. I don't want to make it seem like it's all one, all the yeses I'm reading, all the nos I'm reading. I want to kind of read a combination of both. Let's see what this person says. To Bernie girl's point, more to the point, if they are workers fighting for their rights, why aren't they fighting for workers' rights, wages and wage theft, hourly and safety, surveillance, and other workers' conditions? The things that most truckers are actually concerned about. What I would say to this seems like a critique for a event that's been in the planning for a year or two. Like the pandemic came up, the supply chain issue, the mandates, like that's not something. So you know what I mean? Like you go in, you're protesting because of the mandates. That's why it made it a singular issue. If you were organizing this protest months and years or a year in advance, then these sort of things, these other issues may have been involved, in my opinion, just as a person looking outside. And now, as far as my opinion on this, I don't know. I'm still trying to find out the truth, and it's from these. And I'm going to point to some articles. It seems like I can't really gauge the truth, and it's really my fault because I wasn't following the story closely enough in the beginning. So now that I'm trying to get caught up and read as much information, I'm not finding a definitive answer for this. So this is what I think about it. Any protest against capitalists that causes them to lose money should, that's a key word, should be something leftists are for, even if the people protesting capital are conservatives or right wing. You're for the labor, not for other politics. And this is an issue I find in American politics. People are unable to support, to say they agree with somebody on a particular issue, that issue, because they disagree with other issues. It's bizarre to me that you're not able to compartmentalize. That's bizarre to me. But back to the point. So, but again, now it's almost like, wow, in the beginning, yeah, I would have supported this. And then once all the people who are trying to use this for their own advantage came in, giving them money, that changed the convoy. And here's a question. If let's say the organizers were part of these white separatist groups, but all of the other stuff were right. Let's say they were just workers, but they were racist people. Let's take it from that perspective. Let's say this whole convoy were racist, but they were actually fighting a labor issue. What does the left do with that? This is the conversation that Sabrina and JB, we were saying we need to have, the left needs to have. We can't coalition. The reason that we don't really coalition with people is because we haven't established a clear understanding of who we should coalition with, what's acceptable. And lastly, about my opinion on this, the reason I didn't follow it as much is because I don't watch before I started doing the show. Is the reason I was caught onto it late, because I don't watch a lot of corporate media and stuff until I start doing the show. So I missed out on a lot of the coverage of it. And that would have kind of told me where this is coming from. Now, what's given me some sense of legitimacy that this has some ties to workers is how the reaction of media. That is what's given me pause on whether or not there is some remnants of it. Right? So, and it's also in Canada, so there could be a lot of other dynamics into play that's not, that we're not discussing in the United States that we're not aware of. So, there's a lot involved, but the poll was shocking. The results were shocking. I thought the majority of people were going to say they were for it. Leftists. That's what I thought. For some of the things that it's kind of like you deductive reasoning. You go, okay, yes, this is bad. Yes, this and this, but essentially is this. So, but what we must do as leftists, we have to be intellectually consistent. This is something that Nick talks about all the time. We have to be intellectually consistent. And when you are not, we have to calibrate. And he says he does this all the time. If he's having a discussion and the other person says, hey, you need to check that, that's not really a left position, he goes back and he's like, yeah, I've had to check some things. You want to be intellectually consistent. So if you believe in, non-authoritarian, you need to be having other things that involves that topic to be consistent. And that's what some people are pointing out. If you're against authoritarianism, authoritative power, then anything going against that, we should be for as leftists. But then again, somebody points out, but what if their intentions or the reasons they're doing it is different? And I pointed out that. So this is not an easy discussion. It's not an easy discussion. It's not as black and white. We need to stop using that phrase too. It's not as cut and dry as you would think. In my opinion, I don't see it as cut and dry, because things that are cut and dry on the left are pretty succinct. And cut and dry, the military budget needs to be cut. Like, you don't see a lot of leftists saying, let's leave the military budget the same. You get what I'm saying? So yeah. Let's read a couple more comments before we sign off here. CJ is pretty simple. Form a coalition with people, anyone who is anti-war and sees the corruption in DC. As long as they don't believe in regression, BS, like, right. But what you're describing, like, Jordan, what you just described is another leftist. This is what I'm saying. Like, when not you, but when we describe, this is who we team up with, you're describing just another leftist. You're not describing a person who's not a leftist who we're teaming up with. And that's the point of the coalition. Coalitioning with other leftists is something we already have, and we don't have enough numbers to affect the change we want to have. If the left had enough numbers, we would have already done it because we're ready to do it now. It hasn't happened because we don't have the numbers to do it successfully. Let's see here. Eric Brooks. Next, the U.S. will claim Cuba isn't really communist. They've been trying for decades to take down that small country. Just a bully. America's just a bully. The convoy is more about selfish, individualist, capitalist perspectives and not grounded on more. Of course, they're not, because this is what I mean. Like, as leftists, we have to understand that a lot of people are leftists not by theory. They don't know what anti-capitalist perspectives and collectives. They don't know They don't know these terms. So, if a group of people who don't know these terms decide to do something, they may some sort of direct action. They may not have a non-capitalist perspective to it. It may not be grounded in collectivism. You get what I'm saying? Because what the left needs to understand, and I've said this before, the revolution is not going to be left. Leftists are just participating in it. If the revolution was left, we would already have it, because all leftists are ready for it. The reason it hasn't happened because it takes more people, and it's going to take people who aren't leftists. Because what the things that should happen, how humans should live their life, isn't a left or right thing. It's a human thing. And I'm not sure enough leftists understand that the revolution is not going to be left. It's going to be human. So yeah, let's read a couple more, then we're going to sign off here. After that one, y'all need to check out the Russia-China joint statement. Puts FOBO to shame where it belongs. Let's see what new comments I got, and then we're going to be signing off here. I mostly hate leftists. I support the working class. Can we use humanism versus capitalism instead of socialism, communism words? You're welcome. I don't have a problem with you using that. You could use that. There is no goddamn left anymore. It's only exists as a mainstream talking point. That actually is can be used as it can be viewed as an accurate statement. I could say it, put it that way. I've seen at least a dozen different ways of dismissing the convoy here. Yes. Yes. And so let me delve into this here. So Martin, I'm trying to have a discussion on whether or not leftists are unreasonable with coalition building or not. So that's essentially what this discussion was about. The Freedom Convoy was just the mechanism or the topic people to use to talk about that. But we need to figure out who are we going to coalition with. That's what we need to figure out. Because when I ask this question, nobody is ever able to answer the question. They describe a mythical person. As long as they're not this, and this, why don't you just tell me, real world, there's real people here, tell me who do you think is okay to coalition with? Liberals? With, conservatives? What about progressives? Progressives that take corporate donations? Progressives that don't? You see how many lines? Like if we have so many lines, it prevents getting our numbers up as far as the coalition. What are we doing but running in place, preaching to the choir, talking to each other about a revolution that we can't get off the ground because we're excluding everybody? That was what I want this conversation to kind of symbolize. Now, I don't know if the Freedom Convoy is that, but I thought the Freedom Convoy should be used to talk about that topic. So I've come to the end of my stream. I went almost 2 hours today. It's Valentine's Day. My girls are off. Actually, they're off from school. And one of them has a cold, so she's not in daycare. So kind of a laid back day today. The heat kind of toned down in Cali. It was 80 something yesterday for the Super Bowl. It's been 80 something for the last 4 or 5 days until today. Back in the 70s. So thank you for everybody on Rockfin for watching. Let me see here. Rockfin. Thank you for those donations and those comments. Let me see if I'm able to read your comments. Not yet. And those on Twitter and YouTube, thank you. Like this video, please, so that others, when they watch it on replay, it shows up in their, they're notified. And also subscribe. We're trying to reach 15,000 subscribers by our 1-year anniversary, which is April 1st. So, so that is it. I'm going to be signing off. I am Compton J, and this is You Left Shit Out.